Cranking up the oil pressure. Hey guys, check that out. Whew. Wonder why this car wasn't running like it should. We're going to crank up oil pressure and make this engine run. I've already got my mobile jump pack outside, as you can see. The jumper lead's running in. And I haven't fitted an oil filter yet. I have got my test light down here, and I don't have the, I've got a container to catch any oil that comes out. A little bit of a tip on this one, put the sump plug in. So I have my jump wire, and I'm going into pin 1 of this 26 pin plug. There's no spark plugs in it. And I have oil coming out of the filter housing. That's a pretty good start. Let's screw an oil filter on it. I've set this thing up ready to run. This thing being the engine. I've got a ECU out of a crown, and you'll see here I've got one power wire going to the ECU. No trickery, there's one. Over here, number 1 is my start trigger. I've got 4 wires running in. 2 are for, well, coils and injectors. Oh, actually coils and injectors. And these 2, you only actually need one. One of them's power to the airflow meter, and the other one's just to the diagnostics. But to check which one, I would have to get out my diagrams and just can't be bothered. Engine starting. Earmuffs. She makes some noise. I'm going to fire some petrol into it now, because I know it actually fires. Run it up, check it, put it in the hole. Okay, we have the fuel attached. Let's make some noise. Make some noise. I've got the idle speed control attached. It's going to stall, but that's okay. Woo-hoo-hoo! Hey, fuel pump. Oh. Our bucket of noise needs some attention. She's a runner. Now, we put it in there. That. Get in there. Get in there. So what you saw was me firing it up with one wire, external wire going to the ECU. This is start, and those 4 for the engine. And one of those, as I said, isn't needed because it'll still run, but there you go. 4 wires there, 1 wire there, start trigger, vroom vroom, oh, petrol, and it goes. No, that is not how you wire it properly, but it is good for just firing them up on the stand. If you want it wired up, if you want it fired up quickly, to check that your engine is okay. I was also using an ECU totally different to what came with that car. This ECU is a crown ECU, but it has the same pinout. It's got more videos coming up on swapping ECUs and swapping looms. This Crown ECU has got the same pinout as the Celsius that loom is for. 2 wires different to this LS400, because this LS400 is a 300 series ECU, and they swapped the pins for the ignition triggers on that series, because they started fitting immobilizers to some of the ECUs in the 300 series, which is really interesting. And they swapped the pins. It does seem on most of the looms in the 300s. This one's the same as a 200, early Celsius, Gen 2, but the earlier of them. So I'd swap the pins. Done a video on that. Crown ECU, LS400 engine, Celsius pinout configuration. It runs, it works. We're good. This one's been a pretty big job, and I was a little concerned because I did compression test it before I put it all to bits, and one cylinder was a little bit down. It happened to have a tappet issue on one cylinder, and that aligned with the cylinder that it wasn't quite as good. It was only about 30-40 psi, but it was enough for me to be concerned. As I've put the engine back together, I've had to wait for all the sealant to go off, to put oil in it, to crank up oil pressure before I could compression test it. So that's always a little bit of a concern. I'll do a video another day on doing compression tests. I'll do it in a car to show what you do in real life. Happy it runs. Compression test is good, 425,000 Ks, and it's just around the 150, and it's reasonably even, so I'm happy. Within about 5%, which is, there's that much allowance in the compression gauge, so I'm really, really happy. Let's put some covers back on it and get a transmission bolted up to it, and on to the next job.